are, in my opinion, there are three reasons or three ways that three things that incite conflict, and they're all connected to each other. The first is fear. When we think about fear, it's tied to fear. The idea of fear is that there's only one way of doing things, right? That's the perception people have. And that is the responsibility of the manager to minimize those fears or perpetuate those fears and take a very Machiavellian approach, which is, it's my way, there's only one way of doing something, right? And so that can elicit fear in a group of people or a person. And ultimately, what the manager has the option of doing in minimizing fear is reminding people that we're all on the same page. While we have different positions, right, on something, on an idea, on an initiative, on a project, we share a common interest. The common interest is the success of our business, the success of our company, of our vision. And if you as a manager can remind people of that and get them to really believe you minimize those fears. Because with the fear of there being only one way, right, and it's the manager's way, and then people are automatically afraid that somehow if there's only one way, there's only one way of doing things, then ultimately it's going to lead to me potentially losing my job, right? So that's the first layer. The second is scarcity. The scarcity is perpetuated, might and can be perpetuated by managers when the manager illustrates to people that there's not enough, right? Either the person's lacking something and they can't make up for what they're lacking in terms of their job skills or what have you. There's not enough resources, so it's, people are going to have to make do with what they have, and that ends up creating this anxiety that people have, like, how am I going to do all this without enough resources? And there aren't solutions. So sometimes there are not enough resources, but if the manager doesn't offer any creative solutions or creates a space where there can be creative solutions, people feel like there's scarcity. When there's scarcity in terms of job opportunities and positions within a company, people will start to become afraid of losing their position. And also, when a manager creates too much competition, it can create that level of scarcity, right? There's such thing as healthy competition, right? But when you start to pit people against each other and you're constantly focused on the quantity, looking at the numbers of what targets people are hitting, but you're not also acknowledging and recognizing what they're doing, and rather than just focusing on what they're missing, there can be a level of competition, and that competition leads to scarcity because they're thinking, well, this person's meeting their numbers and their targets, I'm not, so I'm on the chopping block, right? So that can lead to scarcity. And ultimately, like I said, everything tied to scarcity automatically leads to, I could lose my job. Now, the third piece, or the third layer that leads to conflict is exclusion, right? So when people feel like they don't belong in an organization, they don't belong in a conversation, they're not allowed to engage in a conversation, they feel left out, right, of the vision and the mission of the group, the team, the company. They don't understand how they contribute. It hasn't been clearly explained to them. They automatically feel like they could lose their job, right? They become afraid of losing their job, of being kicked out, of being on the chopping block.